Good morning. Well, welcome back to Visionality for Life. I'm Lana Ray, and we're into the next part. I'm not sure what number it's going to be. President John F. Kennedy, and he was the 1961, the 35th president, John F. K. A little bit about what's going on during that time. The Vietnam War began in November through April, November 1955 through April 1975. That was a long war. 1958, NASA was formed. There's a whole lot of ideas on that. Just exactly what NASA. Did we really land on the moon? Some people speculate on that, whether that was all staged. We don't know. We really don't know, just because it was on the media. Were you there? Do you know somebody personally that you trust that was there? We don't know. I'm just saying. I question a lot of things. I know nothing except Jesus crucified, as Paul, the Apostle Paul says. That's kind of where I'm at. We have Alaska and Hawaii joining the Republic, the Constitutional Republic. But 1961 is when John Kennedy became president. There's an NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, came into being, the federal laws for the Department of Defense budget. So he started that. Amendment 23 gives residents of District of Columbia voting rights. Who knew? I guess they couldn't vote before then. So that's good. John F. Kennedy assassination, November 22, 1963. If you go to my website, visionalityforlife.com, on the front page there is a 3-minute video of President John F. Kennedy, his last message, and he's giving the American people what he knows in a message, and then he was assassinated like a week later, supposedly. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that don't think. They think because of what he knew what was coming, and so he planned for it. Now, I'm just saying, who knows? Just an observation. But here are the main points to that 3-minute message that he gives, and he talks about the secrecy that's going on, opposed to the American people, and he wants to help us, to alert us, the American people, to inform us so that we can be free and independent. He talks about conspiracy, and that there's covert operations, there's infiltration, there's subversion, and there's intimidation. And all those are being used against us instead of influence, invasion, or coming straight in, being transparent, elections, which are supposed to be our rights and our liberty, and free choice. But instead of having free choice and elections and he calls it invasion, but he's saying just do it. I mean, it's out in the open is what he's meaning by that. And influence, it's coming from government It's coming from the government and the leaders above that, that whole area. It's coming through as covert, infiltrating, which means you're infiltrating. That's being used in more of a negative sense, where you're getting in good and then you're doing stuff. Subversion, so I mean you'll look over here, not over here. Look over here, what's going on? And then over here, this is going on. Intimidation. And intimidation is what, man, we're seeing all this big time. This last year, that's what this has all been about. They infiltrated, they subvert away from the big E on November 3rd, and they use intimidation and say what's right is wrong and what's up is down, and today I can say this, but tomorrow I can say this, and now I'm right. I was right yesterday, but now I'm going to say the complete opposite. In Congress, in the Senate, and in the House, these people can change their mind in a day, and so can the CDC and Dr. F, the Fauci guy. They can change their mind every day, and every day say they're right. And then we're supposed to just go along like a bunch of sheep. Well, I'm telling you, the only time I'm going to be a sheep is when I'm following Christ Jesus. He likes sheep, and he's good to his sheep. I'm not going to be a sheep to the nation. I'm not called to be a sheep to the nation. I'm called to be a disciple of Christ to the nation, and to disciple them, not have them disciple me into what they want us to be. We need to get a voice, folks. Get a grip. Let's get going. And he also goes on to talk about how those things, intimidation, subversion, infiltration, and covert means, how they come into being. How does it systematically, like a machine, a system machine, where's the resources to do those things? And he says it's the military, it's diplomatic, it's political, it's intellectual, it's economy, and science. Those are the operations that are used to do these things. And he talks about instead of openly admitting mistakes, they're buried. Mistakes are buried, and they're not headlined on the news. The media is involved. We see it today, unless you're sucked in. If you're sucked into the mainstream media, you're believing stuff from 50 years. You're going to have a real awakening in the next few weeks. And over the next few months. This is going to be a process. It occurred as a process for pretty much hundreds of years. It's going to take a little time, but that's another topic. The media. We've had media. I mean, I've watched media for as long as I've lived. And I can remember watching all these things on the TV. We only had like 3 channels. So there was only 3 media stations that could be bought off by them and whoever owns this, whether it's London, connected to the Vatican Bank, Um, I know that's bringing up a very, but here I am, folks. You do the research too. Um, there's there's corruption everywhere, and it's in the religion mountain. I'm sorry to say, we've seen leaders rise and fall out of the religious mountain. Your pastors and ministers and worship leaders. Um, there's some that we've seen on the media that have gotten into things. Um, God still loves them. They've made mistakes. We all make mistakes at times, but there is going to be more of that revealed. It probably won't be through mainstream media, but it's going to be revealed at a certain time, and we're going to be amazed at what some people have really got themselves into, and how some of these have been placed by them into those locations to infiltrate into our, I guess what you want to call, religious systems. My faith isn't based on religion. I don't even like the word religion. And so we're going to talk about that in another one. But for today, media, if connected there, then they just report. This is why, if you've heard the term Mockingbird operation, it's repeating what they want repeated. And then the people are like just believing it, because where else can you get information? Back then that's all we had. Back in the 60s and 70s, we had the TV. That, unless you knew somebody. So who knows? Who knows how much was really true about what they were telling us? So President Kennedy is trying to give us information, and he's saying the mistakes have been buried. So these officials, when something would happen, instead of coming out and somebody fixing it, they buried it and they paid people off, and corruption, whatever. And he says no secrets were revealed. That is a short outline of his speech. Go there and watch it. Watch some of his I haven't watched a lot of stuff about him, but John F. Kennedy was a good man. He was a good man. He was a good president, and he knew stuff about what was really going on in the nation. And if this 1871 thing has any merit at all, he knew about it. And he had spoken in some of his other events that he was going to take it down. He was going to take this thing down, and he was going to create the CIA to help him do it. And then he was supposedly assassinated. Now, some of the theories, some of the ideas is that he knew, and somehow he either survived the assassination attempt. We call that today the Witness Protection Program, which they would have had no telling how long that's been going on, and not really being named that. The military has stayed fairly pure during that time, and they protected him, that he could have survived, or he staged the death or something, and he worked incognito with the military, and that these generals have formulated how they were going to go about to take down this overseeing body that controlled the financial economic playing field for America. And where we showed in the last video how we the people pay debt. We pay through taxes, and through our work we're working. We could be considered working slaves if that's true. Where we work, we pay all these taxes. In the United States Constitution, there's nothing that talks about us paying taxes for any type of debt that the nation takes on. Now there's discussion on sales tax when you purchase things, but that's different than hard-working people starting businesses, working for wages, and being in poverty. Most of us have lived check to check to check most of our lives. Some people are on welfare. Some people are and I know there's some people that spend unwisely, but under the United States Constitution, we the people are supposed to be running the nation, and the government works for us. So it was designed for us to rise up. We are up here, and we work. God tells us to labor with our hands. If we don't work, we don't eat. A God-given activating desire inside us to work with our hands, to work and serve and help and make this nation beautiful because of what Jesus did. We can live that way. And the nation was designed for us to live that way, free, with liberty and justice for all, and not be controlled by forces, not to be controlled by big government or by big London or Vatican or whoever holds the key and holds the tabs over us as we work down here. And most of us think we're working and we're doing just fine. But what does that mean? In relation to what? Maybe we could be finer than we are right now. Maybe we don't have to have people telling us to wear one of those things on our faces. Maybe they've lied to us about that too. And I am going to do a next video on this whole thing with CDC, which is what all the businesses and everybody, I guess, is looking at. And I mean, they change their mind all the time. So do you really know anything about it? I mean, are people just taking what they say every day and then bouncing around? Well, yeah, one day we're going to wear something and not. And if you've had the big jab, you're okay or you're not. And there's a lot of controversial things going on with this. Some of it scares me plumb to death. And then I have to, no, I'm not to live in fear, but have faith. But I'm supposed to research. I'm not supposed to just be a sheep that just be stupid about and just do what everybody tells us. And I don't care who it is. And it can be the top president of the United States, whoever you think that is. So, this is the end of this session. I'll be back with more.